Welcome to the party, pal. Your friendly neighborhood Master Chaos back with you once again for part 1 of 6 of my deep dive, in-depth review into the SHAWSCOPE Volume 1 box set from Arrow Video. I hope you'll join me for this entire series. It's gonna be interesting because I'm gonna be upfront with you right now. I love Kung Fu cinema. I am a student of martial arts. I spent 5 years. I know that's a drop in the bucket for some people. For me, it was a while. Spent 5 years learning martial arts, studying martial arts. I'm a fan as well as a practitioner. I love these movies, but I'll be the first one to admit I'm not 100% an expert in any way, shape, or form on these films or the filmmakers or the stars. I do know a few people, of course. I'm familiar with some of the directors, Lau Kar-Lung, Cheng Che, and things like that. And a couple of the actors, David Chang, of course, Bruce Lee, and Gordon Liu, and folks like that. So I know a handful of facts and figures here and there, but I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form. So this is going to be a boots on the ground, every man, blue collar review of this entire box set. 12 films to be exact. So I'm going to be focusing on 2 films per episode. And I'm just going to give you my thoughts and feelings on the film, and I will apologize right up front if I mispronounce any of the names. I'm going to try my best. I do consider pronunciation important, and it's a sign of respect, so I'm going to do my best to pronounce the names correctly. To the best of my abilities, I apologize if I falter along the way. Today, we're talking about 2 films. One, which is considered a masterpiece in the world of martial arts, and another, which I consider an early precursor to stuff like The Godfather and Goodfellas, things along that line. So join me, won't you? I have a feeling you're here already. You'll stick around. Okay, let's do this. Are you ready? I'm ready. Oh my god, I'm a little nervous, to be honest, because there's a lot to unpack, especially in this first episode. We've got 2 movies, and they've got a boatload of special features, which I'll be covering in depth and give you timestamps and all that stuff towards the end of the video. So if you're curious about special features, I got you covered on that as well. It's not just movie reviews. I'm going to do an in-depth box set review here. This is everything. I'm sure you're familiar with how I do things by now. So, here we go. Disc 1, let's pick it up. This is, of course, the sleeve, the holder, the folder, however you want to refer to it as, that holds all the films. Not a massive fan of this design, to be honest, but it is what it is. King Boxer is Disc 1. King Boxer, also known as Five Fingers of Death. Yes, that's right. You might be more familiar with it as Five Fingers of Death. I know I was. I never even heard of King Boxer before, honestly, but King Boxer, I think, is a more apropos title to the film because, wow, there is a Five Fingers of Death element, and we'll touch on that when I talk about the plot. It almost feels like it's not even really the focus of the movie, so it feels a little disappointing because you're expecting these Five Fingers of Death to play a big part, and they don't. But anyway, beside the point, we're talking about King Boxer. One thing you should know about the Shaw Brothers movies, these are fucking long movies. I'm not talking about 80, 90-minute movies that can be digested like popcorn. I'm talking about thick, meaty, chunky movies that really require your time and mental effort. These aren't easy movies either. There's a lot going on in these films. So I'll talk about the times of all the films as I discuss them. Right now, Disc 1, the kickoff of the set, King Boxer, is an hour and 45 minutes. So keep that in mind. I was kind of shocked. An hour and 45 minutes, okay. And they get longer. The second movie we're going to be talking about is considerably longer. It's also considerably better. I'll talk about that when I get to Shantung. Right now, King Boxer is the star of the show Five Fingers of Death. Now, you might know that title because apparently, and I know this because of the special features, this was the first martial arts, Hong Kong, wuxia, Shaw Brothers-esque movie that crossed over into U.S. territory. And this is the movie that is responsible for the fandom here in America. This is the movie that started it all off. It was in theaters, was a big hit worldwide.
Oh my god! Wow!
And everybody's like, shit, we want more of these things. And then Shaw saw the market open up and they became more successful, yada, yada, yada. So, according to them, according to the special features here, Five Fingers of Death, aka King Boxer, is the world's first martial arts super hit. That's kind of amazing.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
But is the movie itself good? I honestly have issues with it. There's a lot happening in King Boxer, quite a bit, and that of course adds to the reason why the films are so long. Our main hero here, Ji Hao, has to win a tournament in order to be worthy to marry his master's daughter. So he leaves to train at another school, the Chan Wu school. I'm guessing because there's like a new technique there that he has to learn to master something. It's very unclear as to why he has to leave a martial arts school to train at another one. But I guess that just happens there. He comes across an evil mob boss known as Meng Dongshan and his gang, and they don't like Chan Wu school, and they want to win the contest, this big tournament, to I guess be the leader of China or something. Again, I'm not clear as to what the winner wins beyond just recognition, but it's a big deal. And according to the commentary track with David Desser, which I'll speak about later, it's apparently to be the #1 fist under heaven, which is sort of a translation of the title as well. So there's this basically rival school kung fu movie plotline that is recycled over and over and over again. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little tired of the rival kung fu school plotline. I think it's kind of dumb. I mean, and again, I'm not, trying to bash any kind of historical things. That's something that happened in China. That's interesting. But I just don't want to see that over and over again. Of course, I say that being a slasher fan, and I love watching people get stabbed by a guy in a mask. But there's just something about the overuse of that trope here that even though this was the maybe first of its kind, it feels a little dull, and it feels a little. It just feels like let's just get to it. Can we come up with something else besides rival schools or rival gang bosses hate kung fu schools? Was that really such a big deal? Maybe it was. I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. Just my feeling on the plot line there. But let's continue. As happens in most of these movies, Ji Hao's hands are mangled by the bad guys. Again, another overused trope. But then he overcomes it literally in 2 scenes later, and he's fine, and he gets to represent the school in the tournament, and we have sort of a big showdown. But not even the tournament isn't even a big deal. That's almost over before it's begun. There's too many plot lines here, and too many plot lines are abandoned willy-nilly, and that is a problem. The film is bloated and should have been stripped down, removing filler fights that honestly add nothing and just unnecessarily complicate the hero's journey in a way that honestly just feels incoherent and not rewarding. Let's talk about Ji Hao real quick. This is an issue with the screenwriting. This is something that you'll notice in a lot of movies if the screenwriter isn't paying attention. Our hero is at times weak and then unstoppable, but only when the script wants him to be. If he needs to be beaten up by these guys, he will be beaten up by these guys. If he needs to conquer these guys, he'll fucking turn into Superman all of a sudden and kill these guys. So, you never really know how good Ji Hao is before the contest begins and why he has to go to this special school. Before he gets to the Chan Wu school, he has a fight with these guys and he defeats them no problem. Once he gets to the Chan Wu school, he gets his ass kicked. Wait a minute, I thought this guy was a badass, so what is he, so he sucks, and then he doesn't even get accepted to the school, and he has to work as, like, the butler, whatever, the fucking janitor of the school, until, like, the teacher says, okay, I feel bad for you, come and learn with us. There's just a lot of stuff in here that is, honestly, they're roadblocks to the screenwriting, to the story, progression, and they're almost put in there to make it longer. If he's accepted to school, fine, great, but he's not accepted, so now we have to spend a lengthy period of time, maybe 5-10 minutes of screen time with him being the janitor, and then he's finally accepted. Then he has to learn. So that weird dichotomy of is he good, is he not good? Are we rooting for him? Does he suck? Does he deserve to learn the Iron Palm, which is, I believe that's how it's called. That's the 5 Fingers of Death technique. It's very unclear. And I think that, to me, that's the biggest failing in the movie. Like, I wasn't sure how good this guy really was to begin with. With that in mind, let's talk about the 5 Fingers of Death. The 5 Fingers of Death is a special technique that only the Chan Wu school has, and they've decided to only let Ji Hao learn it. So he learns it, and it involves him kind of sticking his hands in like hot fucking ashes or something. You've seen it in a dozen movies, the same type of movie. Once he gets his hands mangled, he just that's fine. Put some bandages on him, he's fine, no problem at all. Not barely an inconvenience, as they say. And I'll be honest, he barely uses it. I think he uses it 3 times in the movie. And it's not even a big deal. Like, oh my fucking god, he put a hole through the guy's face. No. Bam! Pushes a guy. Bam! Pushes a guy through a wall. That's kind of it. So, calling it 5 Fingers of Death, it's almost like, alright, he didn't really use it. It's kind of like Tiger Claws. Not being a thing about Tiger Claws, just a guy slashing somebody. kind of the same thing here. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm going to let that go because I can't blame the movie for being retitled. That's happened to me in some of my movies, so I can't really blame it. This movie gets 3 stars. I'm going to be honest, I think that's sort of in the middle. I liked it. I had fun with it. I don't think I'm ever going to revisit it unless I forget what it's about and then go, what was that one about? Maybe I'll pop it in. I rarely have time to revisit anything nowadays, honestly. But if I do, that's how and why I would revisit. King Boxer, I do love this artwork. I think that's pretty cool. His hand does glow red when he gets his 5 fingers of death move, which is kind of a cool little technique. Also, something you'll notice in here is music sting. When the hand goes like, when he gets his little red hand thing, there's a music sting that pops up, and you might remember it as something that Quentin Tarantino sampled. Let's talk about the special features on the disc, because that's where the gravy is, baby. Number 1, the master of Asian movie history, scholarly history. Mr. Tony Raines is on this box set. I don't know if he comes back, but he appears here to kick things off with a history of Shaw Studios, and in particular, King Boxer and its importance to the world. 43 minutes. He speaks for 43 minutes. Something that you'll also come to know about these special features, at least as far as I've got into the box set, they're also fucking long. There is a lot here. Oh my god, so much. Especially on this disc. It took me 2 days to go through this whole disc to make sure I covered everything. The film's Korean director, Chung Chang-hwa, speaks for 40 minutes, and here he charts his career in his films and his time with the Shaw Brothers studio. Wang Ping, the female co-star of the film, who plays Ji Hao's girlfriend Ying Ying, speaks for 25 minutes, and here she discusses her 4-year contract with the Shaw Brothers Studios, which she started when she was only 19. Cho Young-jung, the author of Chung Chang-hwa's biography, speaks for 33 minutes. This one's in English, and here she explains how she discovered his works and how she kind of came to interview him and write the book on him. It's skippable, in my opinion. Then you get a 15-minute documentary here called Cinema Hong Kong Kung Fu. This is the first in a 3-part documentary series on the Shaw Brothers and its place in martial arts cinema. Lastly on here is a commentary by David Desser, another, of course, Hong Kong expert. And his commentary is multi-layered. He talks about fighting styles, he talks about the reception of the movie, he talks about the actors, he talks about the performances. But most of the time, and this was kind of annoying to me, he would sort of point out camera angles and things, and it just felt kind of like, well, what's the point of that? Like he would say, ooh, here the camera zooms out. Here the camera zooms in. Here the camera tracks. And it's like, okay, well, we know what the camera's doing. I would rather the commentary be a little more informative. Disc 2 is The Boxer from Shantung, starring Chen Quan-tai, and it is amazing. To me, this is a precursor to stuff like Goodfellas and The Godfather and kind of all those gangster, up-and-coming, rising from, the bottom ranks to the top ranks kind of movies that we've, grown to love here in America. And this one, to me, really kind of sets the template for all those movies, but of course with a decidedly kung fu bent. This is a badass fucking movie. I should also mention that this movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's not a small movie. Again, another meaty, thick one. Thicker than, of course, the King Boxer. But it is worthy of that runtime because a lot happens in this movie, and a lot needs to happen in this movie. And the best part about it is it all happens organically. Never does the screenwriter add things, in my estimation, that unnecessarily prolongs the film, and so we have a masterpiece on our hands. But what the hell's the movie about? Chen Quan-tai stars as Ma Yong-jen, a broke dude looking for work in Shanghai. And he's also a secret badass. Who knows how he learned it, but he learned it. And boy, does he make use of it. He makes the acquaintance of Mr. Tan, another skilled fighter who's some kind of big man in town, sort of a rich dude who nobody messes with, and he's got he's got a considerable amount of clout. And soon, Ma is using his fists and his skills to get himself some clout because he wants to become just like Mr. Tan. This is a Rise of the Gangster movie, a very unique story, not the typical rival schools and training stuff that I'm honestly, like I said, pretty exhausted with. This movie kind of takes the Martin Scorsese route, and I'm fucking beyond the moon thrilled that it does so, because I was just looking for something unique, something different to break out of this old-fashioned plot line of rival schools and masters and stuff. You don't really have that here, which is amazing. Top that off with a jaw-dropping final fight that is supremely cool and involves Ma fighting off a bunch of dudes with a fucking axe rammed into his guts. and you have a bloody, violent, and enjoyable film that reminds us that crime doesn't pay, even when the gangster is fairly benevolent. The Boxer from Shantung, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. It's also probably one of the best scripts I've ever seen come out of the Shaw Brothers. Of course, admittedly, I don't know much about Shaw Brothers, even though I've seen, most of the big hits. I'm most likely going to be learning a lot watching this box set, and I hope so. I hope to absorb as much as I can. But for right now, to me, The Boxer from Shantung has the best script of any Shaw Brothers movies I've seen, which is awesome. That's fantastic. I'm a big proponent of a solid script as a screenwriter. That's what I pride myself on. So this movie delivers that, because you get the charting of a character from beginning to end in a genuine, organic way. That almost never happens in these movies, where a character, they strive to. These are all about heroes' journeys. They pride themselves on the hero's journey. That's what all these movies are all technically about. But here you get a realistic, down-to-earth hero's journey that is rewarding and honestly just thrilling to watch and compelling to watch and engrossing. And you're with Ma Young-jan for the entire movie. And even when he becomes kind of cocky and kind of an asshole and kind of starts turning a little Breaking Bad-ish towards the end of the movie, like, man, maybe this dude isn't as nice as we thought. Maybe, power corrupts, as they say. So this movie is all about exploring power corrupting an individual who comes off as benevolent and kind in the beginning, and then you see what happens, and it's quite amazing.
You're goddamn right.
Fantastic stuff, great fights, great cinematography. Again, the composition here is just phenomenal. Let me give you a rating. Are you ready for my rating? I think you are, because you are a wonderful human being. By the way, if you're new here, do consider subscribing. That means you and I get to hang out again. I would love for that to happen. I would be so honored. I'm crushing my subscriber goal here. Way past 2,000 subscribers into the new year. Nearly at 2,100. Amazing. I keep getting new people every day, and I'm so honored. I'm so thrilled. What an amazing thing. You guys are making me so happy, and I love to have you at the party. The more the merrier. The more the merrier the party. So if you're new here, do consider subscribing. We get to hang out. You won't miss any of these reviews and future reviews to come down the line, and leave me a thumbs up. My rating for this movie, 5 stars. That's right. The Boxer from Shantung gets 5 fucking stars. I loved it. I can understand why Five Fingers is more of an important film to kick off the box set. Fine. But this was a way better movie. 5 stars for me. Let's talk about the special features. First up is an interview with Chen Kwan-tai, the star of this show. It runs about 22 minutes, and he spends a good portion of it sort of defining his martial arts style, and then he speaks about the making of the film, and he mentions that they shot Boxer from Shantung in 60 days non-stop, with day and night crews switching out and 2 different directors taking different shifts because they needed to make some kind of special release date. I think the Lunar New Year. Don't quote me on that, but I feel there was something about a release date that they had to rush the making of the movie, so it was interesting hearing all about that. Next is an interview with David Chang. David Chang is familiar to most audiences. I knew him. He's been in a ton of films, so he definitely had a familiar face, so it was nice to check in with him. We spent 31 minutes with him. Here he charts his career, and mainly working with Cheng Che, the director of this film, as well as sharing a lovely anecdote about working with Peter Cushing on the not-so-amazing The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. And he speaks about how Peter Cushing spent 4 hours one night helping him with his English dialogue for the script until David was able to memorize all his English language portions. Next, we get an amazing short interview with John Woo. It runs about 8 minutes, but John Woo was the AD for Cheng Che on this film, and he speaks about how Cheng Che, the director, of course, influenced John Woo's work in later action cinema. Last but not least, for 14 minutes we spend time with Chen Kwan-tai again, as well as Ku Feng, another actor from the film, and they reminisce about their time working together. Overall, The Boxer from Shantung is a masterpiece, and one that I will be revisiting quite a bit, and I hope to find a lot more gems like that in this Volume 1. Okay, pal, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me for Part 1 of 6 of the SHAWSCOPE Volume 1 box set. I love you very much. Take care of yourself. Until we meet again, remember to leave me a thumbs up on your way out the door. Signing off for now.